let's go to our guest, Oliver Slope from Blue Line Futures. Oliver, thanks for joining us. What do you think of what's going on in the after WASDE?
Well, it's nice to see a little bit of green on the screen, especially after last week and several weeks. But the blip that we're getting here, especially in the corn market, really isn't all that convincing. We're up, just half a cent fractionally right now. So not a lot to jump up and down about as funds remain in clear control, as they've been sellers for 6 consecutive weeks, amassing a net short position of about 298,000 futures and options contracts. And that's the largest since 2019, which back then it reached just over 322,000 futures and options contracts. So yes, the funds do have a historically large net short position. They probably have a little bit powder to add, but I think more importantly, they don't really have any reason to cover, at least at this point in time. Now, we do have a USDA outlook forum that starts later this week. Potentially that gets the jawbone and going back and forth between, what are the acres going to look like going into this spring? And potentially that creates a little bit of uncertainty to potentially spark a little bit of short covering. And when we're looking ahead to the spring, and the prices with where they're at right now, we're looking at the options market as a good way to get some exposure and manage some risk. The CVOL, which is a measure of volatility for the corn market, is sub 20, which is at the lower end of the year's range. And typically we can kind of bottom out this time of year in terms of volatility and see that rise into the spring. So when volatility is low, options are relatively affordable. So I think that's something to keep a very close eye on if you're a producer or a speculator in these grain markets going into the spring.
Yeah, that volatility is great to watch, especially when it's low. They definitely like to come in. Anyway, we're going to take a break to pay for some bills here, and then we're going to be back with Oliver Slope and talk about the livestock market. We're here with Oliver Slope from Blue Line Futures. Oliver, anything on the livestock market?
Well, kind of a little bit of a mixed bag here to start the week. I think it's nice and probably welcome to see the live cattle market just trying to catch its breath and consolidate after the nice, strong rally that we've had over the last several weeks. Looking at the cash market, that's going to continue to be a big driver. At the end of last week, I think the 5-area average came in at about 178.85, which is firm with what we've seen in recent reports. Weekly slaughter was at 618,000 head. So pretty good demand that's helped prop up futures prices, but we are, again, in towards that overbought territory with the RSI above 70, and typically anything over 70, technicians refer that as overbought. So we're stalling out here a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a pullback here as well. We're just retraced the breakdown points from November. So I think a sideways trade and consolidation is probably healthy. Later in the week, there's going to be some data, economic data, that could have implications on things. We've got CPI tomorrow, retail sales on Thursday, and PPI on Friday. And those things will be tied to the bond market and the U.S. dollar, and that could have implications on commodity markets going forward.
So the livestock market, you think it still has some legs to it? We can go to the upside?
I think over the long run, I think cattle can continue higher. The funds certainly have the powder to add. We know the herd size is relatively small, but I think we've come pretty far pretty fast, and I think some consolidation and sideways trade would probably be healthy for the market at this point in time.
Okay, that's good stuff, Oliver. And I love your seed bag in the back. That's a great backdrop back there. Very nice. All right, we'll be back in another half hour to update on prices. And now I'm going to throw it over to Tammy.
All right, Tom. Yeah, good to have you part of the team here and keeping us updated. People may not know that you actually spent quite a bit of time on the Chicago Board of Trade doing this very thing.
Yeah, one of those crazy guys screaming and yelling on the floor for 30 years.
What an experience.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
All right,
Thanks so much.
thank you.
Well, this next act.